It is September 20th, 1914. The First World War had just broken out, and across the globe a strategic cat-and-mouse game played out between the German Kaiserliche Marine and the British Royal Navy. In the serene embrace of Zanzibar's harbour, an on-duty guard aboard HMS Pegasus stood watch. The ship, having recently returned from a diplomatic mission to German East Africa, underwent quiet repairs, and a hushed calm enveloped the crew in their restful repose. As the guard maintained a vigilant but tranquil watch, the harbour echoed with the peace of routine. Then, at just past 5 a.m., the tranquility shattered. In the distance, a rogue German light cruiser, the Königsberg, seized the element of surprise. It unleashed a relentless barrage. The on-duty guard, abruptly thrown into the chaos, found himself at the forefront of the Battle of Zanzibar. The First World War had reached the East African coast. At the onset of the First World War, the Germans possessed a significant naval threat with forces stationed abroad, although the actual impact on British trade was limited. Germany, boasting the third largest empire globally, had colonial possessions scattered across the globe. Despite the empire's vastness, the European population was small, and most colonies operated at a deficit. In Europe, the British and French naval blockade primarily focused on preventing German forces from breaking out of European waters, and the overseas German forces posed a potential threat rather than an immediate one. One critical naval base for Germany was Tsingtao, a strategic possession from which the East Asiatic Cruiser Squadron, under Vice Admiral Maximilian Graf von Spee, operated. Spee's flagship, the Scharnhorst, and its sister ship, Gneisenau, were state-of-the-art armoured cruisers. These vessels, capable of reaching 20 knots, were renowned for their gunnery prowess. Spee's squadron also included the light cruiser Emden, while other light cruisers such as Nuremberg, Leipzig, Dresden, and Karlsruhe patrolled the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans. Additionally, German forces included the light cruiser Königsberg, stationed on the east coast of Africa. Apart from these major vessels, Germany, like other colonial powers, had a collection of gunboats, surveying vessels, river gunboats, and minor crafts unsuitable for significant naval encounters. As war erupted, German vessels in the Far East sought refuge in Tsingtao. Others, like certain river gunboats, found sanctuary in Chinese ports. However, many German naval vessels led a fugitive existence, terrorizing the high seas and preying on Allied merchant convoys. 2 months later, the British found themselves caught off guard when the German light cruiser Emden, under the command of Captain Karl von Müller, executed a bold and unexpected move. The assumption that the Emden was part of von Spee's squadron led to a grave miscalculation. Müller, capitalizing on this confusion, achieved complete tactical surprise as he emerged in the Bay of Bengal. The bay, typically a hub of normal peacetime maritime activity, had resumed its routine traffic without anticipating the presence or likelihood of a raider. Between September 10th and 14th, Müller unleashed a devastating onslaught, sinking 6 steamers and capturing 2 more for use as colliers. Panic and fear gripped the region, not in the least because the British were aware of another German light cruiser operating from Germany's only base on the East African coast, Dar es Salaam. In those late summer months of 1914, the light cruiser Königsberg haunted the waters of East Africa and played a risky game of cat and mouse. Under Fregattenkapitän Max Loof's command, the cruiser held orders to disrupt traffic at the Red Sea entrance. The lead ship of her class, the light cruiser, was commissioned in 1907. With a displacement of 3,814 tons and a speed of 24.1 knots, it boasted 10 10.5 centimeters and 10 5.2 centimeters guns, along with 2 torpedo tubes. Including all officers and enlisted men, its crew numbered 322. It had 3 sister ships, the Nuremberg, Stuttgart, and Stettin. These played crucial roles in various battles, with Nuremberg sinking the HMS Monmouth at the Battle of Coronel on the other side of the world. With the Königsberg based in Dar es Salaam, commander of the Cape Station, Rear Admiral Herbert Kinghall strategically deployed his ships, the old and slow Hyacinth, Astrea, and Pegasus, to counter the potential threat. The most important vessel for the Königsberg's fate was HMS Pegasus, a Polaris-class protected cruiser. Launched in 1897, weighing 2,740 tons at full load, the cruiser, powered by 7,000 IHP through 8 Reed water tube boilers, achieved a speed of 20 knots. Armed with 8 4-inch guns, 8 3-pounder guns, and 2 18-inch torpedo tubes, it boasted a crew of 224. Sailing from Dar es Salaam on July 31st, the Königsberg deftly eluded Captain John Alexander Ingles's Pegasus, becoming a lurking threat. Worrying about this, the Admiralty's order on August 12th redirected Astrea to join flagship Hyacinth, leaving Pegasus vulnerable and unsupported at Zanzibar. But that did not matter, for Kinghall had a plan up his sleeve that would cripple the Königsberg. 1 week later, Captain Alfred Charles Sykes, aboard the cruiser Astrea, appeared in front of Dar es Salaam. Without warning, Sykes obliterated the wireless telegraph station, severing Germany's vital communication link. Panic set in as Dar es Salaam's harbour master, gripped by fear, scuttled the floating dock. With one bombardment, Astrea denied the Königsberg both a lifeline and access to the safety of the lone German port in the region. From then on, the Königsberg faced a litany of challenges, crippled by coal shortages. The British prevented the Collier König's departure and preempted fuel purchases. Despite these issues, Luff remained combative. Following a week of prowling the trade routes off Aden, he sank the SS City of Winchester. Realizing the British would send reinforcements, Luff steered his vessel southward to anchor safely in the delta of the Rufiji. Battling the monsoon and hiding along the African coast, Luff's men lived a fugitive existence, desperately scavenging for coal, hindered by logistical woes. Meanwhile, Pegasus sailed to Bagamoyo in German East Africa on a diplomatic mission, before returning to Zanzibar harbour for engine repairs. Slumbering in Rufiji, Luff learned of Pegasus's whereabouts and its vulnerability. He set sail, planning to confront the vessel. In the first light of the 20th, the vigilant armed tug HMS Helmuth, strategically positioned by Ingalls to safeguard the island, found itself caught off guard. The element of surprise was wielded with precision, catching even the most seasoned officer of the Pegasus unaware. The Königsberg managed to approach the Pegasus to around 8,000 meters, which left the German cruiser out of range for Pegasus's armaments, yet rendered the British vessel an ideal target for its superior guns. At precisely 5:15, the tranquility of the morning was shattered by the harrowing scream of 2 shells hurtling towards the dormant vessel. Startled from a deep slumber on the deck, an officer sprang into action, catapulted to awareness by the imminent danger. The Königsberg unleashed a relentless barrage. The Pegasus crew responded by scrambling to their designated stations, yet the German shell onslaught wrought havoc, inflicting a toll of destruction. The resonant thunder of the vessel's 8 4-inch guns echoed futilely, failing to bridge the gap that separated the vessels. Pegasus's shells dropped in the water. The Königsberg launched another volley. A shell landed perilously close to the guards on deck, mere yards ahead, casting a torrent of spray over the topmast. Ingalls ordered the raising of the white flag in an attempt to prevent total destruction of his ship. Communication faltered, with the fore control reporting an obstruction in relaying directives to the beleaguered guns. Urgent commands were redirected to the after control, but an eerie silence enveloped the vessel as the guns fell silent. Despite attempting to retaliate fire, the Pegasus had not even come close to scoring a direct hit against the Königsberg. Meanwhile, the Königsberg continued its slow approach until nearly 6,000 meters. Another salvo blew away Pegasus's white ensign as it tore more holes in her hull. Realizing the Pegasus was unable to reach the Königsberg, Ingalls understood the futility of resistance. Since the white flag went unnoticed, he ordered the lowering of the colors and disembarkment of the ship. As the flag was lowered, a universal sign of surrender, his ship was marked by a concluding volley of 9 rounds from the Germans. Amidst the chaos, as the ship listed ominously, all available lifeboats were deployed, and an urgent mission to disembark the wounded unfolded. According to a detailed account of an officer, a precarious decision loomed. Were those involved prisoners of war, or did the vanishing silhouette of the Königsberg afford them a reprieve? Ingalls, contemplating the sinking vessel, issued the somber directive to abandon the ship. The arrival of the steamer Kilwa offered a slim glimmer of hope, and the Königsberg's slow departure meant most of the surviving crew would not be captured. With this knowledge, pleas were made for a return to Pegasus, harboring aspirations of towing it to shallower waters. The Kilwa's arrival, though, failed to forestall the inevitable, and the slope of the shore facilitated the Pegasus's capsizing and descent into the depths. The Königsberg slowly sailed away, firing salvos against the HMS Helmuth during its departure. In total, Königsberg's attack lasted no more than 15 minutes. Yet the toll was staggering: 102 casualties, 42 dead, and the remainder left maimed and wounded. The Royal Navy had lost one of its Pelorus-class protected cruisers, unable to offer any resistance. In the wake of a hard-fought victory, Captain Loaf brought the German light cruiser Königsberg back to the Rufiji Delta for vital repairs, weaving through the maze of humid swamps and obstacles to outsmart the British pursuers. Intent on avoiding a repeat of the Pegasus tragedy, the Admiralty redirected cruisers Chatham, Dartmouth, and Weymouth to hunt down the elusive Königsberg. The cat-and-mouse game escalated as Captain Sidney Robert Drury-Lowe strategically sank the Collier Newbridge to block a Delta branch on November 10th. Cornered, Louf transformed the Königsberg into a fortress further upstream, opting for a strategic stalemate rather than risking immediate retaliation at sea. As December dawned, aerial assaults failed, pushing Admiral Drury-Lowe to endorse a renewed assault plan. Shallow draft monitors Severn and Mersey set sail from Britain, navigating treacherous channels on July 6th. However, when they engaged the Königsberg, the response was devastating. A renewed assault a week later left the Königsberg in ruins, forcing Captain Louf and his surviving crew to abandon ship. In total, they had lost 33 men in 7 months, mostly due to disease. The Königsberg's destruction marked the end of German naval defiance in distant waters. With no German warships venturing beyond familiar territories, the High Seas Fleet's operations were curtailed. The demise of the Königsberg, after 7 months of evasion, signaled a shift in the balance of power, limiting German influence beyond the North Sea. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please leave a like, it really helps out the channel. If there is a topic, battle, or person you would like to know more about, let me know your thoughts in a comment. I would also like to thank all my patrons and channel members for their generous support. If you enjoy House of History and you want to support my work, consider joining me on Patreon. For just $1 per month, you will already gain early access to all my videos without any in-video advertisements. Don't forget to subscribe. See you next time.